Hello, and welcome to the shit show. It's 11 o'clock at night, so I have to be fucking quiet. I'm sure I'm fine. I mean, I can literally get my voice to be loud enough to call out a number of the McDonald's whenever the customer gets their order, but can't be loud enough for the goddamn drive-thru, apparently. Today I'm going to be talking about America's emergency alert system, the history of it, mostly. So today we'll be covering basically our earliest system all the way up into what we have today. I will be playing the sound, and I will be discussing nuclear war and disasters, natural disasters, as well as various parts of history that may be triggering for some people. Any sound I play will have a warning in front of it, don't worry. We all know what the emergency alert system today sounds like. It's fucking annoying. It's scary as all hell when you're younger. I mean, it freaks me out sometimes. But, not as bad anymore, especially after making this video. I had to listen to so much of it. It was fucking great. Anyway, we all know what it sounds like today, but what did we start out with? Well, back in World War I and World War II, obviously you had basic things like air raid sirens, and there were various ways that soldiers would communicate to each other in the trenches. During the Cold War, a lot of the air raid sirens that we know for our tornado warnings today, those were established in the Cold War. Basically to warn you about the fucking Soviet Union trying to bomb you. So that's great. And the other funny thing is, not only are we using that for tornado sirens today, we are also using that for baseball games. Yeah, let's hope that we don't have any veterans in the audience. Considering baseball is like the most American sport you can get, who the fuck thought of that? Who thought that through? If they thought it through at all. Anyway, in the 1950s, we did actually establish a fully functional, or so we thought, a functional system that could be used to create emergency broadcasts to alert the nation of whatever the fuck it needed to know about. This system was called CONELRAD, which stands for Control of Electromagnetic Radiation. It was a method of emergency radio broadcast, if that wasn't made clear enough, in the 1950s. It was mainly to warn the American public of incoming Soviet attacks and that sort of thing. This is also where a lot of the Fallout games get their radio-related horror. Because of this radio broadcast system, it was made very, very clear in a lot of nuclear-era Fallout shelter advertisements and films that they would show kids and families during the Cold War that you need a radio, and this system is why.
A radio will be important for receiving vital instructions.
CONELRAD is also not the greatest system. It was a mess. It was kind of complicated and hard to set, but it did have two major fuck-ups. My favorite definitely has to be May 5th of 1955. On May 5th, 1955, a Canadian radar mistakenly took a outbound U.S. B-47 bomber exercise to be a attack. And so, they sent an alert out to nearby civil defense organizations that a yellow alert was happening. In other words, attack is possible. Great. You fucked up. Within 7 minutes, the city of Oakland and the Sacramento Capitol building set their sirens off. However, the civil defense director in Sacramento, California was like, I'm gonna wait a minute. And so glad he did. Arkansas, Utah, Oklahoma, Missouri, Texas, Kansas, Louisiana, they all sent out white alerts, which is a military alert. Not like that's any more reassuring, I guess. Colorado did nothing because the warning was a little too short, so it was kind of like, something's wrong here. And then in Nevada, I fucking love this. In Nevada, the guy who's in charge of warning the entire state of an incoming emergency received the warning, sat there, and I quote, was not sure what to do about it. I want you to imagine being this guy in Nevada. You are in charge of warning this entire goddamn state about an incoming attack. You receive a warning. You're sitting there at your desk, and you have your coffee, and you receive a warning about a possible incoming attack. And he just sat there and did not know what the fuck to do. It's literally just that scene from Monsters vs. Aliens, where it's the guy's just like, I took this job because we never have to do anything. It's fucking hysterical. I love how this guy just legit just froze up and was like, shit. So after using this system for a while in 1963, which, remember what happened that year, just saying, America decided to move over to a television-based broadcast system, emergency broadcast system. The EBS, or the Emergency Broadcast System, was used from 1963 to 1997. The EBS was created to allow the President of the United States to be able to warn the entire nation of an incoming war or crisis or whatever the fuck. This is where the majority of Cold War era analog horror gets its material. If you've ever seen Local 58, the whole thing of, the 3 F's, the whole freedom thing where it basically tells you, kill yourself. And then go lay outside, because we're not gonna fall to the Russians anyway. Yeah, this is where they got the material, because that kind of shit was actually thought of and created. The EBS could only be activated through a very complicated series of orders and government stuff, and it's fucking confusing and almost aggravating, because it was designed for the president to warn the entire country at ease. But you have to go through like 6 different fucking layers of authority to get anything done. So that's not helpful at all. In 1971, a false alarm was set off on television around 9:30 a.m. The teletype operator had 3 tapes in front of him. He sent the wrong one and caused a lot of television stations to be interrupted with an emergency message. Then the message cancellation was sent out an hour later. This actually showed more of the flaws in the system, and yeah. But guess what? We actually have footage for this broadcast, so I'm just gonna let that play.
This station has interrupted its regular program at the request of the United States government to participate in the emergency broadcast system serving the Fort Wayne area. During this period, many radio stations will remain on the air, broadcasting news and official information for areas assigned to them. This station will remain on the air and will serve the Fort Wayne area. If you are not located in the Fort Wayne area, you should now tune your radio to other stations until you hear one which is broadcasting news and information for your area. You are listening to the emergency broadcast system serving the Fort Wayne area.
Studio, awaiting further information. WOWO received this emergency announcement just moments ago. We have to verify. We did verify with a special message in code, and this is an emergency action directed by the Emergency Network and directed by the President. You've heard Bob Chase tell you that you are to tune to the emergency station in your area that is remaining on the air. WOWO will remain on the air here in the Fort Wayne area to broadcast any emergency information that is coming in. At this point, at the microphone I know of nothing to cause this. We are waiting from Stuart Dan in the WOWO newsroom to bring us some information from any of our wire services. We have been asked to broadcast this emergency information immediately. We will bring you other emergency information the moment we receive it. And at this time, I would personally like to urge all members of the WOWO news staff, any in the area and listening, to report to us immediately. We do not know the cause of this emergency notification, but we ask you to stay tuned. This is Bob Sievers. I'm checking the wires. I'll be with you the moment we have further information. We will cease all commercial messages at this time also. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we ask you, please do not call us to ask what is the matter. We are endeavoring to find out ourselves. We have received this official emergency action notification with the proper identification indicating a national emergency. We know nothing now. We are watching our wires. You probably will find that your own radio stations, unless they are so authorized, will be off the air. This includes the television stations. Now, please, if you are in your area and your radio station is still on, the chances are the emergency station for your area. WOWO is now broadcasting to its own immediate area, possibly with reduced power if you're getting our signal weaker. We are to be the information service for this area. This is Bob Sievers. I know of nothing yet. We received this emergency message about 10 minutes ago. We are continually watching our wire. I urge all WOWO newsmen to report to our station immediately to help us, and please do not call us to ask what is the matter. We do not know. We have received the official notification. We invite you to stay tuned to this station, WOWO, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, for information as it is received, we hope momentarily. Now, this information is just in. This information is just in from the AP wire. Attention news directors and all bureaus, regarding the emergency broadcast message which was sent by the Air Force on this wire about 9:30 this morning, Eastern Standard Time, and I am quoting direct, being completely honest. It says AT&T advises the AP that the Air Force at Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado put the wrong message on tape. Put the wrong taped message. The normal tape explains the message is merely a test. This is the one that we always receive at this time on Saturday morning. It says you will be further advised when additional information is available. And so, if you think this hasn't been something here at the studio, the Air Force evidently then at Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado put the wrong message tape on the wire.
This concludes operations under the emergency broadcast system. All broadcast stations may now resume normal broadcast operations.
Yeah, he did not know how to respond to this shit, did he? The American EAS system that we know today was initially launched January 1st of 1997. It was not used in every single part of the U.S. until like 2011. Counties and stuff and cities in the late 90s to early 2000s still had their own version of it because it wasn't exactly nationwide just yet. They were still working on that. And the first nationwide test of the system was November 9th of 2011.
Just under a minute, millions of Americans will witness history. For the first time ever, the government will launch a nationwide test of the emergency alert system. It's designed to allow the President of the United States to address the country within 10 minutes from any location at any time. The system was not used on 9/11, which some critics say proves the U.S. is still living with an outdated warning system. So, if you're watching television or you're listening to the radio, you are about to hear it. We're told it will last just 30 seconds.
emergency alert system capabilities. This test message has been initiated by National Alert and Warning Authorities in coordination with emergency alert system participants, including broadcast, cable, satellite, and wireline participants in your area. Had this been an actual emergency, the attention signal you just heard would have been followed by emergency information, news, or instructions. This is only a test. We now return you to regular programming.
I was literally turning 6 years old the next day. Yeah, when this nationwide test occurred, I looked like this. And the EAS has required weekly and monthly regional tests. The majority of tests are conducted around midnight or mid-afternoon on weekdays. We know this. Because, goddammit, I've seen it. And you know what's even better? The fact that, like, they put it on at midnight or, like, in the middle of the school day. It's just, you know, any fucking idiot kid who tried to stay home that day or was up all night, yeah, you're about to get traumatized, my friend, because they're testing the EAS on you. But I'm sure you want to hear all about the false alarms and misbroadcasts. I think my personal favorite has to be the Michigan, the dead are rising from their graves. That was fucking hysterical to find out about. I'm just gonna let the clip roll because I love it so much.
Severe storms to your weekend plans.
No one in North Central Montana can experience technology you can count on. KRTV, Storm Tracker Weather, Montana's most accurate. You flip, but they flop. You flip, but they flop. Hi, Mark Hill here for the perfect...
Civil authorities in your area have reported that the bodies of the dead are rising from their graves and attacking the living. Follow the messages on screen that will be updated as information becomes available. Do not attempt to approach or apprehend these bodies as they are considered extremely dangerous. I repeat, civil authorities in your area have reported that the bodies of the dead are rising from their graves and attacking the living. Follow the messages on screen that will be updated as information becomes available. Do not attempt to approach or apprehend these bodies as they are considered extremely dangerous. This warning applies to all areas receiving this broadcast. Tune in to 9:20 a.m. to get updated information in the event that you are separated from your television or if electrical service is interrupted. Civil authorities in your area have reported that the bodies of the dead are rising from their graves and attacking the living. Follow the messages on screen that will be updated as information becomes available. This station will now cease transmission, so please use your battery-powered radio. Tune in to 9:20 a.m. for information.
Following who have made significant contributions preserving our area's history. Pacific Steel and Recycling.
You've literally got like a goddamn pancake ad going on and you just hear the dead are rising from the... It's just so silly because you could tell it's like a 16-year-old kid just trying to deepen his voice as much as possible. And it's so fucking stupid. I love it so much. I genuinely can't explain why or how this was able to happen. Because I forgot when this happened. I believe this was 2013, so technically the nationwide system was already started, but whoever this mastermind is, he's fucking incredible. However, there has been a couple of occasions where the EAS was set off accidentally, and it has resulted in a lot of problems. In 2018, during a really hard point with the conflict between America and North Korea, people in Hawaii received a nuclear missile strike warning on their phones. Mostly their phones. TV also had it. And unfortunately, this caused a lot of people to take extreme measures to cope with the situation. Many just ran underground. A lot of them considered suicide. Some people just stood around. Others just thought, like, oh God, am I going to see my kids again? That sort of thing. It's really upsetting. And what had happened is basically during a change of shifts, someone pressed the wrong goddamn button. The, let's warn everybody that we're about to die of nuclear arms button. but it did result in a lot of trouble, and I'm not going to joke about it too much because that was a really concerning incident. But I do have one funny story. Not long after the event, a subreddit was created for people to tell their stories as to how they responded to such a fucking event. And I have to say, my favorite is this one guy who was getting ready to reheat some lasagna. He got the warning on his phone, and he looked at that lasagna and was like, well, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die with a full stomach. And this man, an entire fucking lasagna, just shoved it in his mouth. The whole thing, completely unmicrowaved. Just a full fucking lasagna. Just, there you go. And needless to say, he was very happy with his decision. But, so that's the little bit of light in that incident. But it has showed that no matter how much we meme about the EAS, it can still be very concerning, especially since we know what can come after that sound. I've often associated it with dust storms because I live in Arizona, so we never really have any major storms here. We have haboobs and we have monsoons, but they happen so rarely, and they rarely ever get to a point where an emergency alert is needed. A lot of the time, the alerts we'll hear is about a amber alert or silver alert. And then there was that one event a couple of months ago, I guess it was a month ago, where this guy, domestic abuse situation, police were called, and then he fucking, like, shot an officer and ran off, and the entire state of Arizona was sent a warning about this guy because he was armed, even though he was heading towards, like, I think he was heading south of Phoenix or something. It was somewhere that was not near where I am, and I forgot that my brother just got a phone for the first time. He had that phone for almost a week, and yeah, he got the alert and saw the words, like, you know, gun, armed, and violent. I get the warning on my phone, and I'm sitting here like, okay, and then I just hear, I just hear him crying, and I'm just like, oh shit, here we go. I completely forgot that he has to deal with the EAS now on his phone. Here in Arizona, we don't really get very many storms that would require a warning. I have never lived through a tornado. I have never lived through a hurricane. I've lived through flooding, but not enough to say, you know, like major flooding. Just enough to fill the streets. And so I often associate that noise with something simple like a dust storm. But I do know that there are hundreds, thousands of people out there that when they hear that sound, they often think of, well, the worst. Whether it be nuclear war or tornadoes or hurricanes, it's genuinely a terrifying sound for some people. And I'm glad we're able to make light of it sometimes, but it is really a terrible thing. And it kind of sucks, but we should probably change the noise. Although I'm going to leave that for another video, because that will take me an extra, like, 30 minutes to explain why I fucking hate the noise and why we should change it and how we should change it, because that shit does not work. But yeah, you'll have to wait until another video for that one. That was the history of the American EAS. I have been somnolent, and thanks for staring at my ugly face or listening to my disgusting voice for this long. Thank you for watching, and yeet.